I cannot believe it. I am talking to the Nikita Koloff. Oh my goodness. So when they approached you about this whole wrestling thing, of course, wrestling then is different than what we see with wrestling now. It's not the same.
It's a different product. Yes.
Totally different.
Yep.
So what was going through your head when that was brought to your attention that that could be a possibility?
Well, and so Road Warrior Animal, a little more backstory. So I recruited Road Warrior Animal out of New Brighton High School in Irondale, Minnesota, to play college football with me. I was part of the recruiting team. And I can still vividly remember, man, that was back in the day. You could pick up a phone book. So some of your viewers may not even know what a phone book is. Go Google that. But you could. I saw him highlighted in the Minneapolis Star Tribune. I'm like, I'm going to call that guy. I grabbed the phone book. There was his address and his phone number, and
Wow.
I called, talked with him. I was the one that gave him the tour of the college campus, him and his mom and dad. We clicked and hit it off, man. We became like best friends, like brothers. I became like a prodigal son, actually, to their family. They had 3 boys. I became the 4th boy, and his mom fell in love with me. I fell in love with his family. All that to say, he in turn recruited me into wrestling. He's the one who made that phone call. And I said, Joe, I go, do they know I have no amateur wrestling background and I've never been in a professional wrestling ring? I have no training. He said, I told them that. I go, they're good with that. He says, call this promoter Jim Crockett Jr. And I called the promoter and I said, now, Mr. Crockett, you understand. I just laid that out. He goes, yep, that's what they tell. I go, and you're good with that. He goes, yep. And I go, well, what's the next step? He goes, be in my office on this date with your head shaved bald. I go, that's it? He goes, that's it. I go, I'll see you then. Mickey, I hung up the phone, and several months later, without another phone call or even a picture, he didn't even know what I looked like. I walked into his office the day he said to be there that morning. He introduced me to Ivan Koloff, Don Cornotto, the World Tag Team Champions, Nikita Koloff's born in the hallways that day. And I mentally assented right into that role.
That is great. So while we watch and read the background of other wrestlers, we understand they had to fight through different type of images and different gimmicks. You were one person from day one and stayed that person even until today.
My whole entire career. Now, Barry Darso, who also went to high school with me and was known as Crusher Khrushchev, and then went up to WWF as Demolition. He actually wanted me. He was here in the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, NWA, and he let me know he was leaving, going to go to WWF and create this tag team. Would I want to be, his tag team partner? I thought about it, Mickey, and I go, I worked so hard on becoming the Russian guy that I'm like, man, I don't want to change characters. To your point, I'm like, I don't want to change characters. I don't want to start all over again. I worked so hard with this. I'm just going to stick with the Russian nightmare.
Now, the reason you had such a great impact, and what people don't really understand, or they may, is the fact that there were things going on in our world at that time that caused you to be able to come in and had such a great impact and have people hate you so bad. It wasn't just because you were Russian. It was because wrestling always played to what was taking place in the world. And that's exactly what happened during your tenure, correct?
It is Cold War era, still Cold War era. And even the name Nikita, I wasn't the greatest student in high school, but I do remember Nikita Khrushchev, right? He smacked the shoe down in like the 1950s or something. And I'm like, so when Jim Crockett said, hey, here's one of your options, I thought Nikita Koloff. That's got a pretty good ring to it, right? And so I gravitate, right to the role. I gravitate right into the role. Ivan and Don, even though I had no experience, were great. The next couple 3 months that we would get to the towns early, and I would work out and train, and I like to say they would bump and thump and I learned all the mechanics of wrestling before the match, before people came in. And then I'd have a very short match to sit in their corner and watch them. And then on the drive home, we talk about the old school psychology of wrestling. And yeah, it was not hard in that era to get people to be chanting USA, USA. In fact, last point, 6 different matches, 5 against the Nature Boy Ric Flair, 1 against Magnum TA. I had fans come over the barricade, legit, try to come after me, get in the ring to get me, like legit. Yeah, it's crazy back then.
And they're doing that to comedians today. So there, we're both having rough moments in our careers.